You've probably seen the headlines, Social Security Trust Fund running out, benefits could be cut. Some version of that has been in the news cycle for decades. But this year's numbers moved up again, so I think that it's worth actually explaining what's in the report rather than just reacting to the headline. 3 things that I want you to walk away with: what's actually projected to happen to your Social Security benefits and when, what the experts say would fix it, and what I believe is the most probable outcome and why. I'm Michael Carbone. I'm a chartered financial analyst, a certified financial planner, and a partner of a financial planning practice in Greater Boston. If this is your first time here, I work with people who are serious about getting retirement right. And this channel is about helping you make better retirement decisions, period. All right, let's get into the numbers. But first, just a quick refresher on how your Social Security benefits are or will be paid in retirement. So the government collects FICA taxes on wages that are paid to workers, and those taxes are then paid out to retired people in the form of Social Security retirement benefits. Those taxes cover more than 3/4 of all Social Security benefits paid to retirees. But since the U.S. population is aging, meaning that there's an increasing number of retired people versus people that are in the workforce paying taxes, what's not covered by taxes gets spent by the OASDI Trust, the OASI part, which matters here, that stands for Old Age and Survivors Insurance. And based on what's required to be spent from the OASI Trust to cover benefits and the interest being earned on the trust assets, the trust is projected to go to zero by around 2032. This is the crux of the issue. Not that you're going to lose your Social Security benefits in 2032, not that the system is going to zero, but that unless they reform the program, they won't be able to fully pay retirees their benefits in about 6 to 7 years. So let's get more specific. The OASI fund, the retirement piece of the OASDI Trust, is projected to deplete in the fourth quarter 2032. At that point, incoming tax revenue would cover only 78% or projected 78% of scheduled benefits. If you combine OASI with the much smaller disability insurance fund, the combined depletion date pushes out to the third quarter 2034 at 83% of benefits payable. Here's something that most coverage of this topic completely misses. The Social Security trustees don't actually propose a fix. The report is a financial audit, not a policy paper. By law, their job is to model the numbers under current law and tell Congress how big the gap is, not to recommend legislation. That's intentional. The moment that a government report says raise the retirement age or cut benefits, it becomes political football. So instead, the trustees quantify the gap 2 ways. Either raise the combined payroll tax rate from 12.4% to about 16.65%, or cut scheduled benefits by about 25% across the board starting now. So if the trustees won't tell us the mechanism for fixing the program, who actually proposes one? This is the part that nobody talks about, and I think that is genuinely interesting. The Social Security Administration has an office of the Chief Actuary that keeps a running public scorecard. Whenever a member of Congress from either party formally proposes a specific change to Social Security, this office scores the impact each change might have on the 75-year shortfall. It's nonpartisan, it's been running for decades, and few know it exists. Let me show you a few real examples because they tell you a lot about where the actual debate is politically. On cost of living adjustments that are more commonly known as COLA, which is just the amount that they increase retiree benefits each year to offset inflation, proposals actually run in both directions. Some lawmakers would just reduce it with a flat reduction starting now, and others would use a slightly different way of measuring inflation that tends to run a little bit lower over time. This idea has actually come up in proposals from both Republican and Democratic lawmakers, and even one bipartisan commission over the years. But there are also proposals that go the other way, using an inflation measure designed specifically around senior spending habits, which would actually increase the COLA slightly. And there's a more targeted option too: keep the COLA fully intact for most people, but reduce or eliminate it for high earners above a certain income level. That's a very different philosophy than just cutting it for everyone, and it's historically shown up in real proposed legislation. Now, moving on from the COLA, with regard to proposals affecting the full retirement age, which is when you can take your full retirement benefit, it's the same story. There are lots of different approaches. Some lawmakers would raise the full retirement age very gradually, a month every couple of years. Others move faster. Some tie it directly to life expectancy, so it adjusts automatically instead of Congress having to revisit this every few decades. But here's the pattern that matters most. Across almost every single one of these proposals, they only apply to people who haven't turned age 62 yet. Current retirees and near retirees are consistently left alone. That's the single most important thing in this entire database. And it's the key to how I think this actually plays out. Social Security is often referred to as a third rail issue. It charges voters. Politicians don't touch it until they're basically forced to. And we've actually been here before. Back in 1983, Congress waited until the 11th hour when the trust fund was projected to run dry within about a month before they finally acted. When they did, one of the central fixes was raising the normal retirement age, but they didn't touch anyone who was already retired or close to it. They phased it in gradually, tied to a birth year, so the people furthest from retirement absorbed almost all of the adjustment. I think something similar is the most probable outcome between now and the early 2030s. In looking at the actuary database, you can see the blueprint is already sitting there, fully scored and ready to go. What no politician is going to do is tell tens of millions of current or near retirees their monthly paycheck is getting cut by 20%. That's politically untouchable. So whatever the eventual fix looks like, it's almost certainly going to protect people who are already retired or close to it, and will most likely shift the adjustment onto people who have decades to absorb it. For younger workers, that probably means a gradually rising retirement age. I wouldn't be surprised if my own retirement age ends up being age 70 instead of age 67 by the time that I get there. So what do you actually do with this? I wouldn't build a retirement plan around the assumption that Social Security completely disappears. That's not what the data says, and it's not the realistic political outcome either. But I also wouldn't assume that rules are frozen exactly as they are today, especially if you're more than a decade or two from claiming. If you're close to retirement, history suggests you're likely protected from whatever the eventual fix looks like. If you're further out, it's reasonable to stress test your plan against a somewhat later retirement age or a modest benefit adjustment so that you're not caught flat-footed if the rules shift. In my own practice, when I'm projecting out client retirements to help them make decisions, I grow their Social Security benefits by about 0.5% less than what I'm growing their spending by. I think this is an objective way to capture the risk and better than ignoring the solvency issues altogether. That's the rational response to genuine uncertainty. Not panic, not denial, just building in room to adjust. I've been trying to build a library of practical financial education through the use of these videos. If you're interested in taking a look, I've shared other videos in this channel and through the website retirementdecisionslab.com. You're also welcome to learn more about my practice at Polito Carbone & Company. Both of the links are below. I'll see you in the next one.